What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Meko, joined by my guy Morgan here. And Morgan, we're back for part 2 of our film study of the San Francisco 49ers. Last video, we took time to look at their defense and broke down a lot of the things that they do well on that side of the football. Man, I'm getting tongue-tied. But
It
specifically
happens.
looking at, again, the things that they do well when it comes to run defense, pass defense. Took some time to highlight some of their top players and Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Javarius Ward, and we just basically highlighted that's a really tough unit on that side of the football. Today we're going to look at the offense, and it's kind of the same story.
Yeah, honestly, it's in my opinion, this is the superior unit of the two, and that's no disrespect to San Francisco's defense because we went up and down about that. Like they have difference makers at every level, but right now, as it's constructed, this offense is just crazy. They're the first team ever to have a first-team All-Pro at running back, tight end, and receiver, and Christian McCaffery, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. They're first in overall offensive DVOA, first in passing, second in rushing. Trent Williams is a first-team All-Pro at left tackle. They have Deebo Samuel, or still it's up in the air if he's going to play. But yeah, all over. Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback H-back that we're going to highlight a bunch here coming up. So yeah, Miko, to your point, it's a machine, man. It's a reason that San Francisco is the 1 seed.
Yeah, 100%. And I think getting into the tape, there's a lot of things that we can start off looking at that, again, helps the San Francisco offense get going. But at the same time, I think it also highlights the number one thing that the Lions need to kind of be focused on. And that's both a style of play and a player in the run game and the run game that is ran with Christian McCaffery in the backfield.
Yeah, man, and it's going to be paramount that they stop the run or at least slow it down. I mean, McCaffrey's an Offensive Player of the Year candidate for a reason. The Shanahan system's really good. They do a bunch of different things in terms of the concepts they throw at you, running the football. And here, it's just a good job of climbing to the second level, being strong at the point of attack. 74 gets a good block, 55. That's John Feliciano, their right guard. He's a really good player in his own right. They're just good, and they do a good job of working together and making space for Christian McCaffrey to get to that second level, right?
Yeah, and this is something that's a little similar to some of the things that you see the Lions do, especially when they have Jahmyr Gibbs in the game, where again they're trying to get a lot of their linemen flowing one way and get these lanes that are open, so that a back that has great vision, that is very elusive, can basically easily one cut up the field and start to pick up yards. And you've already got bodies out there that are already blocking. You see George Kittle so far out ahead of everyone else, continuing to block for his running back. So this is something that the Lions are really going to have to contend with, especially when it comes down to being able to set the edge and being able to stop these runs before they get going.
Yeah, and McCaffrey does a great job of stretching a run, horizontally and then putting his foot in the ground and getting north and south and hitting those seams hard and, fast. And I like here they use Juszczyk in a bunch of different ways. 44 just went in motion to the left. So here he's going to go into motion. He's going to get that kick out on the edge defender. So he's no longer even in the play. And it just creates alleys. And this is where the Lions are going to have to be sound in their run fits and, be strong at the point of attack, not getting blown off the ball and having the line of scrimmage reset. Because if that happens and then the play action is really opened up for Shanahan and that offense, then that's when they can hang a bunch of points and yardage and everything else on your head, right? It's a machine.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think another thing to highlight in that play that we're also going to see in this next play we look at, the 49ers do a really good job of talking about their offensive line, of passing off blocks. And I'm not saying that I have never seen it, but I don't think I've ever seen it done this flawlessly, where one guy is getting a block, and when you talk about your lineman wanting to get to that next level, they get that lineman to the next level, but that doesn't mean that the guy that they just finished blocking is done being blocked. Like you said, Juszczyk came up and was able to still pick up that defensive end that was already being blocked by the right tackle and continue to push him further out of the play.
Yeah, and they don't stop. Like Ayuk and Deebo and the rest of them, the receivers all block downfield. So in a lot of ways, it's very similar to the Lions attack because the Lions have so many willing blockers in the skill positions. And this is another one. This next play that we're going to watch here, they have Juszczyk as the fullback. And they're operating out of 22 personnel, so it's going to be 2 backs and 2 tight ends. And yeah, this is smash mouth football again. They're beating you. They were mashing Arizona at the point of attack, walling off defenders, and it just makes life real easy for McCaffrey. Just getting into space and making guys miss. And he's hard to tackle. He's not an overly big guy, but as you know, McCaffrey's strong and people bounce off of him, and he's tough to bring down. It's going to have to be a good tackling day for the Lions too.
Yeah, I think it's also fair to say that San Francisco puts a lot of pressure on your secondary players to come up and tackle. And
Yep.
so I kind of said this to you off stream. I don't know if this is the Kirby Joseph game that a lot of us are going to want to see. I think this is a game where you should see a heavy dose of CJ, GJ, and Ifeatu Melifonwu. Again, no disrespect to Kirby, but I just think like this is a game where you can't be afraid to come up and deliver a hit on somebody. And I think CJ and Iffy just do that a little more consistently, especially if we're talking about plays like this where if you have McCaffrey get out on the perimeter, you need a safety coming downhill ready to be able to fill in the run defense game.
Yeah, and it's going to be important that when you do come downhill, you come with the correct form, and you're not just trying to chop people down. And I will say Kirby's efforts there, it's just like the technique sometimes lacks, and that's why he'll bounce off people, or they'll wriggle away from him when he's trying to get him down onto the ground. So yeah, I'm with you here, and this is Arizona has 3 defenders in tight, and I think it's because they're anticipating a run up the middle on that third and 1 on this down. And this is good too. They're good at bouncing it outside. McCaffrey's got good vision. He's been doing this a while, and he knows how to work off of. They'll do it a bunch of different ways, right? Like we've seen it single back, out of the gun, in the eye with a fullback. So they do it a bunch of different ways, and it's impressive when it really gets going. It's impressive and scary, I would say.
Yeah, and I think also to your point, right, about Arizona, being so tight, at the defensive line and trying to condense the middle of that defensive line. That also speaks to the threat that a Kyle Juszczyk presents, right? Because this isn't an offense where the fullback is strictly out there to block, like you kind of said earlier. They will throw it to Juszczyk. They will run it on any down and distance because he's that valuable of a weapon. He's not just like your stereotypical, hard nosed, run blocking fullback.
Yeah, he does it all. Like I saw, they would have him running wheel routes out of the backfield, and he's winning. Drew a defensive holding. They do it all. He blocks his ass off. I'll give him his credit there, man. He is a good blocker. He's a willing blocker. He's a technically sound blocker, which really makes the difference when you have those other 2 things. So, yeah, they do it all. And this next one, man, I saw this rep just jumped out, right, Meko? We watched this at the beginning, and George Kittle and then Werner, number 89 here. This is teach tape. Like this is when football coaches find a tape and they're like, oh yeah, we got to show the team this, right?
Yeah, this is again another reason why George Kittle is heralded as one of, if not the best tight end, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, because it's not just what he does in the receiving game. This dude will block the hell out of you.
Yeah, and he wants to embarrass you. Like pancaking you's cool with him, or just riding you out of the play. So they're going to send Kittle in motion across the line of scrimmage, and they run to this strong side a lot when they have these 2 tight ends in tight. And then Kittle and 89, Werner, they both get a block on 45, and then Werner peels off and gets another guy, and I believe it's the corner out there. And before you know it, McCaffrey's in the second level, and he's yet to be touched. Look, he's not touched. He's not touched. Yeah, he never gets touched until he's about 26 yards down the field. So.
Yeah, and the first time you and I were watching this play, like I was like very confused. I'm like, where the hell is the backside pursuit? And then I looked up and I was like, oh wait, there's Trent Williams. Like that's the other benefit of having, like when you already have great tight ends that can go out there and block, and then you have this athletic freak in Trent Williams that literally can just wall off any type of backside pursuit from linebackers. It's a really scary thing to have to figure out. And I said to you, Morgan, like if the Lions want to be able to stop plays like this, the first thing they have to do is one, set stronger edges than what we're seeing a lot of these other defenses do against San Francisco. You are going to have to, put these tight ends in the backfield or put one of these guards in the backfield so that your linebackers have an easier lane of pursuit. But then it goes back to what we were just talking about with your secondary players. Your secondary players have to be able to knife into that backfield and be able to keep these from being 13 to 14 yard runs and trying to keep them to 3 and 4 yard type of gains.
Yeah, it's going to be like playing with your hair on fire. I believe, we quoted it last time, last video too, and it's going to have to be that way, especially backside. I love the point that you made with Trent Williams, because even if you're not running to Trent Williams' side on the left, or you're not pulling him, he's making a difference, right? By being such an efficient and just dominant blocker at the point of attack on the backside, because then when McCaffrey's hitting these little stutter steps or these cutbacks, no one's there, and then he's able to keep on running. So yeah, I love that you made that point, because that's going to be huge too. Like, it's going to take 11 men running to the football. It doesn't matter who has it, whether it's McCaffrey, Samuel, Ayuk. It doesn't matter. Everyone runs to the football because they're going to block. They're going to block. It's really similar, and I hope this helps, because the Lions defense has been prepping, especially in August when they're practicing more. They've been practicing against the closest thing you have to Trent Williams and Penei Sewell, who's obviously we know the first team right All Pro at right tackle. So yeah, I hope that helps some, but yeah, to your point, Meko, everyone's going to have to run to the football, and everyone, even the players on the backside, you got to get there.
100%. And so the other thing that makes this that makes this offense so difficult to nail down, Morgan, is like, so you start putting all this attention on Christian McCaffery because you know how dangerous he can be when getting the ball, that when the 49ers finally decide that, like, hey, we're not going to give it to McCaffrey, and they decide that, hey, instead we're going to give it to Deebo Samuel, who's just as dangerous with the football, this is where your defense can get caught off guard. And if you have guys on that defensive side of the football that aren't staying true to their assignment, and they're doing, maybe they're guessing, or they're just not being disciplined in their play, you start opening yourself up for even bigger plays from a player not named Christian McCaffery.
Yeah, and they love to do this. This popped up. I watched 3 games of theirs from late in the season where they were still playing their starters. So weeks 15, 16, 17. And this is week 17. They beat the Commanders 27-10 pretty easily. But this is it's 2nd and 3. They hit them with an end around, and I love this action, because what they're going to do is, and we'll see it better from this view up here. And honestly, the Commanders run to the football pretty well here and limit this. It could have been worse. But you'll see Kittle go in motion, and then Juszczyk comes in motion. And what's going to happen is Kittle's going to act like he's going across the formation, turn around, and then he's a lead blocker. And when that happens, Juszczyk is going to it's called a pin and pull concept. So Juszczyk's going to pin that edge defender and essentially render him not a part of the play anymore. And then all of a sudden, you have Deebo Samuel coming around the corner, and you have both George Kittle and Trent Williams escorting him up the sideline. So again, I know we said this a couple times. It's very similar to what the Lions do when they have Jahmyr Gibbs out in space and Penei Sewell out in front of him. It's hell for defenses to deal with, and very similar here. They did a lot of this. They want to catch you lacking, sleeping, getting used to those stretch zone plays and these powers with Christian McCaffrey, and then they're going to hit you with the okie doke.
Yeah, and this is something, like you said, I think on one hand, right, because the Lions do this so much with their own players, with, using Jahmyr Gibbs in these types of plays, or using even Amon-Ra St. Brown in some of these plays, it shouldn't be a foreign concept, right? It shouldn't be a foreign concept of understanding what you need to do. And it goes back to the thing that I just said before. This is where you need to be able to set strong edges. Your defensive ends, when lined up against tight ends, even as good of a tight end as George Kittle is, even as good as a fullback as Kyle Juszczyk is, you're going to have to be more physical when setting these edges, because if not, you're going to leave the rest of your defense hanging. Now, the good news is I think the Lions have been very good at that so far this season, whether it's Aiden Hutchinson, whether it's Josh Paschal, Romeo Okwara has done it fairly well this offseason. If those guys can continue to do that, then I think again, not saying that the Lions can completely neutralize San Francisco's offense, but I think you give yourself a chance to win more of these reps than other teams possibly have throughout the season.
Yeah, and you just don't want to, excellent point, and you don't want to set yourself up for failure. So like you said, you don't want to get sloppy one time and not set that backside contain, and then before you know it, because they do it both ways. They'll hand it off to Samuel in like a traditional end around, or they'll do the thing where they pop pass it to him while he's going in the turbo motion. So he's just running across Purdy's face, and Purdy does the little pop pass to him. And that's dangerous too, man, because both times he's getting the ball with a head of steam, and typically they're trying to get somebody out in front of him, whether it's Feliciano or Trent Williams or what have you. So yeah, I want to. That's going to be a big emphasis, man. And I know Campbell said that earlier in one of his media availabilities, but stopping the run, that has to come first, because otherwise Shanahan's introducing you to his entire house of horrors instead of just a little bit.
Yeah. And I know some people are going to like hear us say stuff like that. Like, oh, like I'm sure if you're a 49ers fan, you're probably laughing at the idea that a Detroit Lions team can stop your run game. And trust me, I understand, because there's a lot that we've just looked at that shows why this run game is dominant. But again, if you're a Lions fan watching this, what's the optimism? Is that the Lions have stopped opposing run games consistently this year. And it really hasn't mattered who it is. And it hasn't mattered what the concept is. I understand that San Francisco is a different beast all together. But all that really does in my mind, Morgan, it just emphasizes how on top of their game plan and how on top of their technique this Lions team is going to have to be. Because any crack in that is going to lead to San Francisco taking advantage of it on the ground.
Yeah, and I'm 100%, Meko. When you said this, like, you took it out of my mouth, really. Like, Niners fans, if y'all are here, you're like, what are you talking about? And if you're not hip to, like, advanced metrics, the Lions are the first overall run defense in terms of DVOA. So they're like that. They have really good run defenders at every level, including, secondary linebackers in the front seven. So, and then they devote a lot of assets to it, right? They make it a point. They're like, you're not going to run the ball. Like, you might do some other stuff, like Brandon Ayuk might go for 160, but we're not about you. We're not about to let you go crazy on the ground, because it's just how they built the defense and how it's coached too in terms of the scheme that Aaron Glenn uses.
Yeah, I think Dan Campbell said it best during his press conference this week. There's some things that he's willing to give up. He's willing to give up something in order to get something. I'm gonna let you know right now, he's not giving up the ground game. He's not giving that up. He'll give up, like you said, he'll give up 160 to Ayuk. He'll give up 160 potentially to George Kittle or Deebo Samuel, not collectively, but like one of those guys may go off. But he's going to sit there and be like, the other thing that you're not going to do is you're not going to do both. And I think that's a good mindset to have, and I think the Lions are going to need that. But with that said, the pass game is still something that the Lions are going to have to contend with, and it's something that we know that the Lions have struggled with. And when you have guys like Deebo Samuel, when you have guys like Brandon Ayuk, you have to contend with that. But also, Brock Purdy is playing a really good brand of football, Morgan.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite throws of his that I watched. So this comes in week 15 when they beat the Cardinals 45-29, 2nd and 9, and you could just tell he knows what he has from the jump here. Two curls on the front side of the play, and then he has this go. And yeah, he just sees it the whole time. He knows Samuel has one-on-one coverage, and he just throws it really like at the pylon. Meko, you made a good point. Like it's a good play by Samuel too, by Deebo, but it's a really nice throw because Purdy almost just drops this like a foot over the pylon and is like, here you go, Deebo, for the back shoulder.
Yeah, I love the timing of this, right? We talk about this sometimes a lot. Well, we talk about this a lot with Jared Goff when like the timing is on point. You basically are taking full advantage, like you're saying, of this being a one-on-one situation. The safety is nowhere near in a help position. And then based on the placement of this throw, it's either Deebo's or it's an incomplete pass. Like there's no real threat of this being an interception based off the placement of it. And so this is something that, again, that the Lions are going to have to be concerned about, is that if you give Brock Purdy too much time, or if you allow him to really get set on these types of throws, you're putting your corners in a really tough, situation here.
Yeah, and I don't want the Lions. They're gonna have to play some man, right? Like, I think too many fans are like, "Oh, why are we in man?" Man is a product. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but you're gonna have to be in man, especially when the Lions blitz. They're gonna blitz him some. I don't think they're gonna blitz Purdy as much. But who knows? But when you blitz and you send extra rushers, typically you're gonna be in man coverage. And that's just a good rep. Like, I'm not mad at the corner there for Arizona. That's just a perfect ball to a really good player. And yeah, sometimes you just can't do anything about it.
No, I mean, again, that's why the back shoulder throw is one of the most difficult, throws to really defend when it's on point and you have a really good receiver that can make the adjustment to the football. But I wanted to piggyback off the other thing that you were just saying, because we're about to get into another play where you're talking about, like, listen, you can't just run zone all the time. And I know some players, like you said, some fans are just like, hey, why don't the Lions play more zone? Well, because it still puts a lot of emphasis on your defensive line to be able to create pressure. And if you can't do that with 4, you're really going to open yourself up to just having your zone defense picked apart. But I think Arizona, probably took their zone coverage a little too far on this play because they decided to just rush 2, and this didn't work at all, Morgan.
No, I watched this rep like several times, and I was like, they really did. Like they're mugging the line of scrimmage here. They have a bunch of guys on the line of scrimmage trying to confuse Purdy. And yeah, just they drop 9, rush 2. Kittle's running a little in-breaker, through the linebackers, like through the thicket, if you will, and then just decides like, hey, I have some green grass up here ahead of me, breaks it off, turns upfield, and just makes a really nice one-handed catch. But I like it here because Purdy has all day, but he's obviously moved off his spot, comes up, resets his feet, and drops a nice little pass. So, yeah, this is something you don't want to give him all day. And to your point, Meko, I love that you said that because so many fans are like, the Lions need to be in zone exclusively. Like, this is the thing, though. If you're not getting home against, like, when the quarterback's working against the zone, they're going to figure it out. Like, Ayuk is a great guy. He's great against the zone, man. St. Brown makes his living against the zone. He beats man coverage too, but when you see those plays where he's just wide open because he found the soft spot in the zone and sat down, that's what that is. So this is what you see from Kittle here. They dropped 9 and it still did not matter. 19-yard pass, 1st and goal. Frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you have skilled players like a George Kittle, like a Brandon Ayuk, like a Christian McCaffery that can understand zone coverage, like we're not talking about guys that don't understand how to find the pockets in zone coverage. We're talking about guys that know how to run through zone, that can make contested catches. The only thing that you can do in these situations, Morgan, is like you're saying, you need to apply pressure in some case, and that's going to require you to be in man coverage in those situations. And again, I get what people are saying, right? Cam Sutton's gotten burned a couple times. Kendall Vildor's gotten burned a couple times. I do think Kendall Vildor's been in more contested situations where it's like, hey, like, that's just a great throw, but you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. I give Vildor credit too. I agree with you there for sure.
But like, you also got to give the Lions credit when they've tried to go with these blitz packages where, again, they're blitzing Ifeatu Melifonwu, they're blitzing Brian Branch, they're blitzing CJ GJ. Like, those are getting home and it's disrupting the opposing offense to be able to do the types of things that they want to do. In a play like this, again, you're rushing just 2 down linemen. Imagine how different this play looks if you're at least rushing 4 or 5 guys. Maybe Brock Purdy doesn't have the ability to step up and allow, George Kittle to develop his route and get open like this. There's a lot of more nuances that go into defensive schemes than just saying, like, play man or zone.
Yeah, Meko, great point. Now, I love that you brought up what Dan Campbell said earlier in the week, like about like, I'm willing to give up stuff to get some stuff. And I truly, like, they know they're going to give up some big plays here and there. They do. It's just that it's a matter of their personnel and the scheme they're playing right now, and just they're working with what they have. But they also know that they found a little something in blitzing Brian Branch, Iffy, CJ, Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Barnes. Like, they have some freaking guys who can get after the quarterback now. And they kind of have to do that because Niners fans, if you're new to the game here and you haven't watched a lot of the Lions football, Aiden Hutchinson is going to probably get after McKivitz a lot. You're going to have to devote Kittle or Juszczyk out there because you put McKivitz on with just by himself with Hutch. Hutch is going to whip his ass. I can pretty much guarantee that. But other than that, we don't got a whole lot cooking in terms of guys just
Aleem's
one-on-ones.
Nice. I would say
Aleem's nice in the middle. Yeah, in the middle though, right? So we and he will, and he's good. And I know your interior's good. Feliciano's really good. He popped on tape a lot. Their right guard, but yeah, they were blitzing Brian Branch, Iffy. It's worked, and I think they're going to continue to do that. And like, we might give up a couple touchdowns, but we might get a couple takeaways too, and we'll take it.
And that's something we're going to get to. Yeah, I was going to say we'll get to those trade-offs a little bit later in this film breakdown. But yeah, so we've talked about Deebo. We also got to talk about Brandon Ayuk, and once again, continue to highlight the fact that, like, again, Brock Purdy is a quarterback that does more than I think people realize. I think, we hear about being a 7th-round draft pick. We hear so much about Kyle Shanahan putting together such a great offense that I think we sometimes look at Brock Purdy as or certain people look at Brock Purdy as like, oh, well, he's just a product of that offense. But he does some really unique things that, again, I don't know where to slot him, Morgan. I'm not even going to try to slot him in a ranking of quarterbacks, but this is top tier quarterback stuff when you're talking about being able to extend plays and connect with your wide receivers when you kind of have to go a little off schedule.
He is, and he's athletic. I give him his credit here. He's got active feet. He navigates the pocket pretty well. And then Ayuk's a baller, man. He's had a crazy year, over 1,300 yards, averages 17.9 yards per reception, folks. That is bananas. Okay, that's crazy numbers. You don't really see that a ton anymore. 7 touchdowns, so he's the real deal. But yeah, this is just, and it's good protection too. They really do. Outside of McKivitz, they do a pretty great job of protecting Purdy for the most part. And yeah, Ayuk's good. This is what we were talking about, right? And I don't want this to happen many times. Like, I don't want there to be 5, 6, 7, 8-second reps for the Lions defense, because you get into this scramble drill, and you mentioned it earlier. They have Ayuk, they have Kittle, they have veterans who are going to know how to get open in the scramble drill, right? These are seasoned pass catchers. So I don't want this. I don't want this happening against the Niners either. It's quick, it's out of his hands, or you're getting after Purdy and getting him on the ground, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that has to get brought up about this, and again, this is not to take away anything from Brock Purdy, from Brandon Ayuk, or the San Francisco 49ers offense at all. But this is some bad defense too, like that we're seeing that, Washington is rolling out there. And this is something that the Lions can't afford. You can't afford to lose, contain, and allow the quarterback to extend plays like this. And again, a credit to them. I think they've gotten much better at this, specifically Aiden, because this is stuff that we used to see Aiden do a lot early in the season, where he would just get a little too excited about potentially getting a sack and leave the back door open for quarterbacks to be able to roll out, extend plays. And next thing you know, you've given up 6.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, Meko. Like, because it happened a lot early in the season. Despite the Lions the Lions won all season, but early on they were winning, and 8-2 at one point. But there was a lot of like play. We were like, damn, we need more from Hutch. And lately we have gotten it. So you've heard us change our tone quite a bit with Hutchinson, because man, he has been on a freaking heater in all facets of the game, and they're going to need a big one from him, because he's going to have to, they can manufacture one-on-ones. We've seen it in the breakdowns, whether it's due to alignment, stunts, you name it. They can manufacture those one-on-ones, but he's going to need to win a bunch of them, because you don't want Purdy back there dancing around doing crazy stuff, because it's going to be tough to deal with that, right? From like a defensive standpoint.
No, absolutely, it is. I mean, again, I know people are going to, specifically Lions fans, right? You're going to be watching this video and you're going to see us talking so glowingly about this 49ers offense. And you're probably going to be sitting there at this point in this video being like, so is there anything that the Lions can do to stop, hinder, or make life difficult? And I think like some of the stuff that we've said along the way, and a lot of it is based off of discipline and having great technique and understanding assignments. Because if they can do those things, as good as this offense is, it's very similar to the Lions offense in this case, Morgan. If you can get the quarterback just doing a little too much or not being able to get into the type of rhythm that he wants to be in, you can start to kind of take advantage of it and start to force turnovers and find yourself with more opportunities to score than your opponent does.
Yeah, and it goes back to our original point. They got to stop the run on early downs, and you try to get San Francisco in some third and obvious passing downs, right? So you can heat up Purdy, or he'll make a mistake. He's not infallible, right? He's still a younger quarterback, 24 years old. This is his second year as a full-time starter, correct?
Yeah, second time. So, and again, second time in the playoffs, getting this close to a conference championship. So still some pressure.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to feel it. They're the 1 seed, but this one, man, Kyle Hamilton baits him. There's nothing really threatening Kyle Hamilton in the corner of the end zone here, because you're obviously working in a more condensed space, being almost, I think they are in the red zone, if I want to say. But yeah, he tries to look him off, but Hamilton baits him into it. Really easy interception, steps in front of it. So yeah, I do, like, in these obvious passing downs, I would love to see a too high shell. And this is where Kirby's great. This is where Iffy's been great lately. Reading and reacting, right? Making plays in the passing game, getting pass breakups, and getting interceptions. We got to get some takeaways, man. I think that's a huge key in this game. got to get some takeaways.
Yeah, I almost feel like the Lions need at least 2, in all honesty. Like, going into this game, you're going to need at least 2 takeaways because I think this 49ers offense is efficient, and I think they're going to find ways of getting up and down the field. But like we've been saying, if you can, again, start to slow the run game, not allow that to get going, and then, like you're saying, put them into some of these 3rd and long situations, I think you have guys in the secondary that can make plays, especially if the defense is getting opportunities to, again, get after the quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be huge. You got to be able to, and they're going to blitz. Like I'm expecting some cool blitzes and some fun packages from Aaron Glenn on these obvious passing downs, but I think it'll be some on those early downs too. Try to create some negatives, whether it's sacking Purdy when they do try to throw the ball early, on early downs, or getting McCaffery on the ground for TFLs, like getting them behind the sticks. That's going to have to happen too. And I think that goes a long way because then you get Purdy in some of these unfavorable conditions, and maybe you can heat him up and put the ball on the ground or throw us 3.
Yeah. And then going back to what you were saying earlier about the right tackle of the 49ers, like the play that we're getting into now, I think is a perfect example of what you're saying. Cause I know there's going to be some 49ers going to be like, what do you mean? Like Aiden's basically just going to have a day. Like if your right tackle plays like this against Aiden Hutchinson, based on the way that Aiden's been playing, in the words of Shaquille O'Neal, this is barbecue chicken.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this one is the one where he throws across his body, though. I think the other one's the other one. Yep. So this is the one where again, scramble drill, and this is hero ball a little bit, just throwing it up, across his body. Right. You're doing too much here. I liked how you said that before we got on, Meko. He was just doing too much.
Yeah, and I think. So to backtrack that, this is something that, again, Lions fans are very accustomed to as well. We've seen Jared Goff get into situations like this where you're like, okay, you probably just need to throw this one away. Please. And these are situations that I think, again, if the Lions can get pressure, if they can get Brock Purdy off his spot and having him maybe try and do too much, again, not being able to just comfortably settle in and make a throw, you can get plays like this out of him.
Yeah, and honestly, it was a hold too, I want to say, on San Francisco, and this play ended up standing as an interception. But yeah, thrown across his body. I believe this was to Kittle. Trying to get it to Kittle. It is 3rd and 5. But yeah, just a bad decision, similar to the one right before this, where they were just sitting in the too high shell, and Kyle Hamilton read it the entire time. I believe this is also Hamilton that intercepted this one. But yeah, it's just a bad decision. And it's like we said, this should give you guys at least a little bit hope, Lions fans, or at least it's giving me and Meko hope. Like the Niners are a more complete team right now. Let's just keep it a buck. Their championship window, however you want to phrase it, has been open for a while now. What is this, like their 4th NFC championship in 6 years or something stupid?
At least 4th trip to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Something crazy. So like, this team is like that. So, but that being said, they're not infallible. Like they can turn the ball over. They had a tough game against the Ravens here where they lost 33-19 at home. And there were some ugly plays last week against Green Bay. He hit Darnell Savage in the numbers, man. He just dropped that thing. And then this next one was the one that we were talking about before that, Meko, was 68. So McKivitz, guys. So Niners fans, don't get mad at us. I gave Trent Williams his flowers. Trent Williams has been one of my favorite. I'm an offensive line enthusiast, defensive line too, and I love Trent Williams. And Penei Sewell's my favorite lineman, but McKivitz ain't good, y'all. Like, I'm just going to keep it honest with you. It's not good. And this is a bad rep. I don't know who this is for Baltimore here, but he whips his butt. So it's going to get off the line of scrimmage, hit him with a little bit of a long arm and a shuck, and he's on Purdy quick. And as Purdy's letting this ball go, it just kind of flutters out, and it's the 3rd interception of the day.
And again, like this, so there's a lot going on in this play. Like you're saying, like one, you have the right tackle basically getting beat very quickly once this ball is snapped off. I also pointed out, or at least I noticed when we were watching this play, like it looks like Brock Purdy just comes off of this read of IU just a little too quick because he does come open sitting in the zone. And the way that he's reacting once this interception is thrown is like, bro, this ball is supposed to come to me.
Yep.
Give me a chance.
Yeah, and I like that you said that before, because he did get off this too quickly because he had the time to sit there and hit him. But to his credit, I don't know, maybe he saw out of the corner of his eye his right tackle getting ragdolled. So I don't know. It's tough over there, and I do expect Shanahan's smart. So I do expect him to devote assets like whether it's Kittle, Juszczyk on the right side to chip Hutchinson or to stay in and double him. But at the same time, though, that's affecting the game, because if Kittle's in or Juszczyk's in blocking, at least they're not out as a pass catcher. So yeah, it definitely helps one way or another. And I'm glad that at least they don't have like this infinity gauntlet on their offensive line. Like there's a weak link, and it's at right tackle, respectfully.
Yeah. But like you said, though, right? Like the 49ers have at least in my mind, what I would say is an easy answer to that, because it is, like you said, it's double Aiden, right? Which a lot of teams have tried to do. And again, you can't do it every down. You can't do it every single play. But if you're Kyle Shanahan and if you're probably scheming up your offense, you're probably looking at it and saying like, hey, we're not going to let 97 beat us. We're going to force one of these other guys to have a game. And it goes back to what we were saying. There's not a lot else on this Lions defensive line that can win, but these guys have shown flashes. Aleem has had a really good year in the middle. I think Josh Pascal has had a really good year specifically defending the run, and he's shown the ability to be an effective pass rusher. Who knows what we get out of James Houston? I'm not sure this is the game for him. I'm going to be completely honest. I know some Lions fans may not love that, but like if we're talking about defending
setting
the run,
an edge.
Setting an edge and defending the run might not be the one for James Houston.
Yeah, not right now, right? Like maybe in 2 weeks, who knows? But yeah, it's a good unit, and I love that you made the point earlier with Aleem. Aleem has come on really strong since returning from his injury later in the season. Missed some time, but has come back with a vengeance. Man, had a really really good game against Tampa and the Rams, as a matter of fact, in the wild card round. So both games, and yeah, I'm excited because it's going to take some like borderline heroic efforts from Hutch, from Aleem, in order to you gotta pressure Purdy. He can't just sit back there and spin it, because it's just not the way this defense is built right now to match up with the offensive skill players for San Francisco.
Yeah, and again, Lions fans, I do think there's hope here, right? Because again, even as though I said, like I think it's really really kind of easy for Kyle Shanahan to just double Aiden. That does leave you a little more open to these safety and nickel blitzes. If you got 2-3 guys dedicating themselves to one player, that means somebody's not keeping their eye on the nickel.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a great point too. Like maybe I hope there's a lot of times when Aaron Glenn is putting extra stress on that right side of the line where you have Hutch, like Aleem at the 3 technique, Hutch at the edge, Brian Branch stacked to the outside of Hutch, at the nickel, thinking about, you don't know if he's blitzing or not. So there's, to your point, Meko, there's ways to combat it, right? And in my opinion, both of these offenses are going to score points. It's just probably going to be, especially if the weather holds up, it's supposed to be like sunny and 60. Like the way we're talking about the Niners scoring points, like the Lions are going to score points too, in my opinion. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
If you've watched this Lions team at all this season, specifically Lions fans, I know you have. 49ers fans, if you haven't, I recommend that you go back and watch a couple takes, because again, this offense has found so many different ways of winning. They can win low scoring, they can win high scoring, they can win ugly, right? They've had some games where they've gotten out to leads and had to hold on until the end. I don't think this is going to be an easy game. Despite what we've said in both of these film studies, Morgan, about the offense and the defense, I don't think this is an easy game for either opponent. And so I think this is going to be a really, again, a back and forth battle. And it's really probably going to come down to like the fourth quarter. And it may just be my fandom speaking, but I will take a Dan Campbell-led team in the fourth quarter over just about anybody.
Yeah, man. I'm right there with you. Coach of the Year finalist for a reason. Yeah, I'm right there. And if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, then the Lions have their chance. And I really like their chances if they can maybe get out to an early lead too, because then you put the Niners in a position that they haven't been in a lot lately, just playing from behind. So that's something to watch out for too. There's a chance, Lions fans. That's why the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, are such fun, right? Like anything can happen. It's cliche, but any given Sunday, and yeah, it can definitely. It's going to be. I can't wait. I just wish it were Sunday already. We're filming. It's Thursday night. We need to fast forward. Simulate week. I want to hit that button.
Saturday doesn't matter to me. I don't. Yeah. Saturday doesn't matter, and I'm going to be speeding through Sunday just to get to 6:30. But like you said, right, any given Sunday. And I think another thing to keep in mind for both Lions and 49ers fans, because I know if you're a 49ers fan, I'm not judging you. I understand why you'd be confident. I understand why you think that you're going to walk all over this Detroit team. That's fine. Feel how you want to feel. But let's keep in mind that this team went 12-5 too. And they got here for a reason. Like it's not fraudulent. It's not fake. Nothing they did this season was a fluke. And especially to get to this point, they played good football to get to this point in the playoffs, beating a really, potent offense and a really tough defense to get to this point. I would just caution any 49ers fan to overlook this team too much just because it's the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, y'all got to get rid of that anyways. That's some tired ass, stupid logic, in my opinion. I just think
this ain't your granddaddy's. This ain't your granddaddy's dumb Lions, all right?
Exactly, 100%, man. Let that shit go. That's annoying. We don't care. And you're gonna find out if you think that way. You might win the game still, but you're like, damn. Listen. The Packers are not as good as the Lions, right? Like Jordan Love's really good. Y'all almost lost to the Packers. Yes, it was raining its ass off. Like I give you that, but. I look at the Lions and I see a younger, earlier version of the Niners, man. You got like Trent Williams, Penei Sewell, Christian McCaffery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, George Kittle, Sam Laporta. There's a lot of similarities, man. So I would just, we're like that too. All I'm saying is we're like that too.
Yeah. Keep it in mind, right? Enjoy the game, root for your team, be confident. That's all I'm saying. But just realize, listen, this team is going to come to play too. Really looking forward to it, just like you are, Morgan. And so with all that said, let us hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you guys think about this matchup? Lions defense against the 49ers offense. If you're a Lions fan, if you're a Niners fan, let us know in the comment section how you're feeling. Also, if you're looking for any more content about the Detroit Lions and anything that's happening in the NFL or anything related to the Lions, check out prideofdetroit.com for all the latest articles that we're uploading over there. And also be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for any type of heads up of any article or any type of videos and live streams that may be going on over here on YouTube. So with all that said, I'm Meko, he's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you guys in the next one.